This is our level 1 advanced beginning class. We're going to start with a supine warm-up. So we can go ahead and lie on our backs. That's what supine means if you didn't know. We'll go ahead and lie on our backs on our mats. And let's take a moment for ourselves. Option to close our eyes here. We may prefer to let some light in instead. Yogi's choice. But we have the opportunity here to turn our attention inward. Noticing how we're feeling. Listening to our bodies and responding if we need to. Maybe letting go of some tension. Maybe letting out some fidgets or tweaks. If we are lying on our backs, it's conventional to let our legs go straight and our toes fall out and palms turn up to the sky. But we may be much more comfortable with our knees bent and our feet planted. And we can also take our hands to belly or ribs to be more in tune with our breathing. And speaking of our breath, let's begin with our 3-part breath for today. Inhaling, we can picture a water bottle, filling it from bottom to top, and feel that our lungs fill in this way. Inhaling, first noticing movements of belly, then expansion of ribs, and then the chest. And exhaling, we're letting it all go. Let's keep moving in this pattern in our own perfect pace. Inhaling, belly, ribs, chest. And exhaling, releasing. This is our 3-part breath, and it helps us to get a deeper breath here. Gives us a better breath awareness. Maybe our next couple of breaths, we notice that our breath is getting longer, deeper, fuller. And maybe we don't, and that's okay too. We may like to use counting. Inhaling, 1, 2, 3, and exhaling, 3, 2, 1. This may help keep the mind focused. Let's check in with body, head to toe. Maybe we're noticing some areas that we're taking care of today. A cranky shoulder, an achy muscle, maybe it's some other kind of thing that we're working with. And if it's accessible, we can place a hand on it. And if not, in our mind's eye, we'll place a hand on that area as a reminder to ourselves to take care. Remembering that we can modify any of our movements or techniques today to be more in line with our own bodies as they are in the present moment, not how they were yesterday and not how we think they may be tomorrow. We are living in the now, taking care, letting go of any need for competition, judgment, or expectation. And we can release our hands. We'll begin to get moving. So let's invite some movement into the body. It may feel good to turn the head side to side, circle the wrists, point the feet, wiggle the toes. We may like to draw knees to chest and take each knee in its own circle, or take both knees in the same circle. So let's let our bodies be our guides here. It is still early morning. We are sweeping some of the cobwebs out. And then let's all meet in knees to chest, giving ourselves a big hug. We can hold behind our thighs if that's comfortable. And we'll start to alternate a single leg to chest. So let's give our right leg a big hug, and we'll stretch our left leg out along the mat, and we'll let it pause there for a second. Knees to chest. And we'll go ahead and switch sides. Draw the left leg in, give it a big hug. Extend the right leg out. So that's our pattern. For more softness, we can go just as we've been going, nice and easy, drawing the leg in, pulling our elbows down, letting the opposite leg rest. For more core activation, we can let our leg hover. And we can pick up the pace here. Inhaling knees to chest, and exhaling as we extend out and in. We are matching breath to movement. We don't move without breathing. We don't breathe without moving. Maybe we're noticing how we're feeling in our low back, our glutes, our hip flexors. We can go once more each way. Let's all draw knees to chest. And we can go ahead and let our feet fall. Wherever they fall is probably perfect. But we might just like to take a look at our alignment. So hips in line with heels, and all 10 toes are pointed straight forward. We want to be stacking so our knees are in line with our hips as well, rather than butterflying open or knocking in. We can use that same tool we used yesterday. Our feet and our knees are probably about 2 fist widths apart. And if we just kind of eyeball, okay, can one hand fit between my knees? Then we're probably about 2 fist widths apart. Let's begin with our flowing bridge. So from this kind of neutral position, we can plant our palms down, and we can plant our shoulder blades down into the mat. Let's press down one foot and then the other. Lift our toes, spread them out, and then plant them back down. We have just established our base. Let's engage our dynamic tension. We're going to engage our glutes as we lift into bridge on an inhale. And we're going to resist gravity as we lower on an exhale. That's our flow. We inhale up. We exhale down. And I encourage each and every one of us to find a comfortable breath pattern here. So we may be moving very slowly today. I know for lots of us it is a cold, gray day. Or we may feel there's lots of pep in our step. We're ready to go and build heat and fire. And I really believe we all have our own natural pace of life, and we can embrace that. We can add arms if we like. Hips down, arms up. Hips up, arms plant down, reestablishing our base. Noticing that range of motion in our pelvis. Let's give it one more good one. And to release, it may feel good to windshield wipe the legs, to do a big long stretch, Or again, to draw knees to chest. Maybe an inhale through the nose, an exhale through the mouth. And once more, we're ready to release our feet to the mat. We'll do a little bit of abdominal work here. So we can go ahead and I like to take my thumbs just to my bottom ribs and then my pinkies to the top of my hip bones. Your body proportions may be different, but somewhere around our abs, we're putting our fingertips. We can inhale our 3-part breath, belly, ribs, and chest. And then exhale, using the strength of our abdominal muscles to push the air out of our lungs. Inhaling, we can release our abdominals just a little bit, and then exhaling, we re-engage. So we're using our breath to activate our inner core strength. This is our power from the inside out. Inhaling, 3-part breath, belly, ribs, chest. And exhaling, engaging our core center, drawing our abdominal muscles towards the floor. So let's go ahead and keep this core engagement while we breathe comfortably. We're ready to make our way to a prone position. From supine, we can go ahead and roll to one side. Maybe pausing for a moment here. And then we'll use the strength in our arms to press up. Walk our hands around to the top of our mats. And we can be resting back in child, settling hips towards heels. Arms can be out for extended childs. Or we can have our forearms down, and we may even have our hips up higher, more like a road cyclist. This can shorten our range of motion and be a lot more comfortable for shoulders and hips and knees and ankles. We may like to stack our fists, and we can release our forehead down. So instead of having our head hanging in space, it can feel quite nice to have a place to land. And this is our child's pose, whichever variation of child's we pick. Let's give ourselves a little reminder here, letting go of any need for competition, judgment, or expectation. We can always return to child's pose for a more internal moment, right? So we can use child's at any point to rest, to take time for ourselves. It will always be there for us, right? But for now, we can start moving. So we can come up to all fours, wrists under shoulders and knees under hips. And we can starfish our hands here, spreading fingers wide to establish a strong base. And we're pressing our body weight not just into the heel of the hands, but each knuckle joint and fingertip. We can press the tops of the feet down for the same kind of base in the back. Or maybe we're choosing fists for wrists today instead. If this is more comfortable, more effective for our wrists. Okay, let's go through cat and cow. So we'll inhale to prepare. And then as we're exhaling, let's make our spines the shape of a rainbow. On our next inhale, we're taking our spines into the shape of the letter U. And that's our flow. Exhaling into cat, reaching the bra line towards the sky. Inhaling into cow, shining heart center forward. And maybe we get the breath backwards. That is completely okay. There's actually a term for it. It's called reverse breathing. But the big idea here is that we are matching breath to movement. We're getting our bodies warm. We're getting our spines ready for movement. Let's notice the pelvis. In cat, we are tucking our tails under like a nervous little puppy. And then in cow, we're untucking the tail like a confident dog. Maybe we're tucking the chin somewhat in cat. And then as we come into cow, keeping our neck a natural extension of the spine. So probably just looking straight forward. We can even check with our hand, smooth line in the back of the neck. We'll go once more each way. And if we wish, we can settle back into child's pose for a moment here and shift our hips off side to side, or maybe we're turning the head side to side to get a little massage for the forehead. When we're ready, we can meet again in all fours, starfish hands or fists for wrists, making sure we have just a soft bend in the elbow so that our elbows are supported and our biceps and triceps kick in to support the joint. We're going to do a variation of spinal balance here that starts very small, but if we like, we can make it bigger. So let's go for a little walk. We're going to press the right hand and left knee down. This is bilateral activation. We're working opposites. We'll release. Let's press the left hand and right knee down. So it's settled. Only you probably know that you're doing it. Release. We press down. Right hand, left knee. Back through center, left hand, right knee. So this helps us to establish our base. We probably feel our core kicking in as we press down. And when we're ready, of course, we can make it bigger. So we can press down, right hand, left knee, and maybe we notice that the opposite becomes light. At there, we can reach and stretch forward and back. And return to center, repeat on the other side. Press down, left hand, right knee, and then the opposites are free. We'll give it a couple more. We can keep reaching long if we like. Or of course, we can extend like we're shaking someone's hand, and we can flex that back foot back. And whether we choose a big or small version, we know we're nurturing our bodies here today. Let's settle back in child's once more. We may like to flip our palms up or come onto our forearms or circle our wrists. And let's build some upper body strength. So we're going to inhale to prepare, extended child, elbows extended, and then exhale as we come into a kneeling plank. So we're inhaling back and exhaling forward. Inhaling back and exhaling forward. So let's recall that moment ago when we had our fingertips on our core. Let's imagine our fingers are still on our core, using that exhale to pull our abs up and away from the floor. Abs working towards our spine. If we like, we can add a little crocodile here. So you may know it as a yogi push-up. Inhaling forward, and then exhaling, we bend the elbows and drop a couple centimeters. So we want to warm our shoulders up. Even though I know we all have a super deep, strong push-up, we start with a small range of motion to lubricate our joints and get our muscles ready for work. We want our warm-up to, in some ways, model what our workout will be, right? Ideally, we are aiming our elbows towards our ribs. So in our push-up, we almost look like a bicep curl, but on the mat. Okay, one more good one here. And then again, another opportunity for a moment to turn inward. Do we want child's? Maybe flipping palms up. Or from extended child's, tucking our toes and coming on up into downward facing dog, saying good morning to the back line of the body. We can bend one knee at a time, pedaling our heels. And if we're in down dog or child's, we can be wagging our tails side to side. So even though we are holding a pose, we are in stillness, there is an opportunity for dynamic movement. And we'll start to make our way to forward fold, so we can walk our feet towards the top of the mat. Let's give it a deep bend in those knees, maybe feeling the muscles of our glutes and our hamstrings working to hold us here. And we'll lift with the strength of our back of our legs as we come up with a neutral spine, reversing our swan dive to standing. If, like me, you get a bit of a head rush when you come from the floor to standing, we never need to take our hands overhead. We can bring them straight to heart center. From the tops of our mats, let's step back to face the long edge of our mat for sunflowers and moonflowers. If we take a look at our big toes, they are pointed diagonally towards the top corners of the long edge of our mat. Inhaling, we're sweeping up into a 5-pointed star. Exhaling, let's bend elbows and knees together into a wide plie with these strong, like we're showing our muscles, arms. Inhaling up, and exhaling to lower. Once more, let's find our own natural rhythm with life. Option to add our sunflowers. Hinging from our hips, keeping a neutral spine as we come forward, scooping up a bouquet of flowers at the bottom range of motion. Inhaling, we're expanding up and out in all directions. Exhaling, pulling our muscles towards the center of the body. We'll give it a few more. Option to alternate between sunflowers and moonflowers, if we like. Let's all do one more expanding breath. We'll meet up and out in 5-pointed star, and then we'll drop into sun pose, holding that sense of expansion, moving out in all directions so that our feet don't slip apart. Let's draw our heels towards one another, inner thighs engage, and we'll pull the thumbs back just slightly to feel wide from shoulder to shoulder and our collarbones. Maybe for a balance challenge, we lift one heel at a time. We can keep doing that, or we can go for both heels together. Let's make sure we're still breathing. 5-pointed star, and we'll bring hands to heart center. We're ready to step to the top of the mat. Let's make our way through a flowing chair. We'll take a seat down and back, and let's look at our feet. We should be able to see our toes as we look down. So if our knees are blocking our toes, we'll shift our hips back, and we're sitting back and down into chair flow. Let's move. We can inhale to stand and exhale to sit. We may like to reach hands into shoulder height. Or maybe we like a big sweep. Inhaling up and exhaling down. We could be choosing cactus arms instead to feel wide across our collarbones again. And we can be trying out a variety of different arms. We'll give it a couple more. And then let's meet at the bottom range of motion here. And we'll test our ankles again. We can do one at a time. And we'll let that go, returning back to mountain. If we're not already there, let's step to the top of the mat. We're gonna inhale up, and we're exhaling through a swan dive down to the mat. Let's take our right foot back into a kneeling lunge. So we'll trust ourselves way, way back, and then we can drop our knee. We can climb up our front thigh into a kneeling lunge. We may like to inhale arms up and out into cactus one more time. Perfect. Okay, we'll take hands on either side of our foot, and we're stepping back into child's pose. From child's pose, we're inhaling forward and exhaling through a crocodile. Let's see if we can go halfway and then all the way. Thumbs to shoulders. Let's inhale up into cobra as we press our feet down. And we're pulling from the belly up and back, returning to child's. Looking towards the top of the mat. Let's step our right foot between our hands. We may only get halfway there, and we can use our hands to help us get the rest of the way there. We can keep our hands down for support and balance. We can climb up our front thigh. We may like to choose an arm position for today. Really rooting down through our front heel. We can spread our toes and let them press down, and press down through the top of the back foot as well. Pressing down to grow ourselves taller. We're taking our hands down on either side of our foot. Let's step forward into forward fold. We can keep that deep knee bend because we're reversing our swan dive. Inhaling up and exhaling down into chair pose. We'll do that same pattern again on the other side. Inhaling, sweeping up, and exhaling forward fold. Let's take our left foot back into a kneeling lunge. We can drop our knee down so we have our lovely classic knee over ankle alignment. We're reaching our hearts forward, extending. So even if we're using the floor for support, we still have that lovely aligned spine. We'll take a breath in, and then we release our hands down on our exhale, stepping back to child's. From extended child's, we can starfish our hands again, inhaling forward. Let's see if we can exhale halfway, and then all the way in our crocodile. Super strong through our back, shining our hearts forward in cobra. Pull from the belly up and back into child's. And we're stepping our left foot between our hands for a kneeling lunge. Inhaling up and exhaling down. Forward fold. Let's put a bend in those knees so we feel our leg muscles working as we reverse our swan dive up to mountain and exhale into chair. We can go once more on each side, but I'll give us another option. So from our forward fold, let's step our right foot back, and we can keep the knee lifted this time if we like. So we're in a crescent lunge. We can climb up that front thigh again. We can have our hands down for support, or we can inhale, stretching arms overhead, and exhale, taking hands on either side of our foot. We're stepping back, down dog or child's. And if we'd like to do an extended crocodile instead of a kneeling crocodile now, we can. So we're inhaling forward to a plank, exhaling halfway down, and then inhaling, opening our hearts in either cobra or up dog. If we choose up dog, let's make sure our thighs are not touching the mat. Firm press down through the tops of the feet and our hands. We can tuck our toes, pull from the belly on the way back to downward facing dog. We're stepping our right foot between our hands, and we can climb up our thigh in a crescent lunge. If we like the floor for support, we're just extending our hearts forward to keep our spines aligned. Forward fold. Inhaling, reversing our swan dive, and exhaling, sitting into chair pose. We've got one more. Let's swan dive to the floor, and we're on the left. Big step back with the left leg, lunge or kneeling lunge. Inhaling up And exhaling down. We're taking it to child's or downward facing dog. Inhaling forward into plank or kneeling plank. Exhaling crocodile or kneeling crocodile. And opening our heart, strong backs in upward dog or cobra. Pull from the belly. Let's make our way back into down dog or child's. And we're stepping our left foot through for lunge. Forward fold. And we reverse that swan dive. Let's hang out in our chair pose. So we're here in chair. We know we have our different options. We could go low. We could sit in a bar stool. We could reach hands to heart, thighs, or forward. We can work into balancing chair for today, lifting one heel at a time. Or maybe counterintuitive, we sit lower in order to lift our heels. So all those muscles that we're working, we say, can you please work just a touch harder? And we sit into balancing chair. Let's make sure we're breathing. And we'll release. Let's come to mountain. I feel good to shake those legs off. And I know we associate the summer with dehydration, but if your furnace has been running, you may be a little dehydrated. I'll give us the opportunity to drink if we like. Are we warm? I hope we're feeling it. For your sake, I will say we have transitioned from our mountain 1 to our mountain 2. We are now holding poses for how many breaths? Let's come in, chest expansion. Standing in our tall mountain pose, rooting our feet down. We can take our thumbs up to encourage ourselves, and we can hitchhike the arms back. We can stay here, if this is our favorite, or in behind we can reach palm to palm and hold open, working to strengthen our upper back. So feeling it out, which are the muscles that draw my shoulder blades towards one another? Oh yeah, I labeled the rhomboids on a diagram once. We can stay here if we would like. We can hold on to shirt or pant leg, or maybe we can interlace. But if we do, let's make sure our wrists are in a fairly neutral position. So it's morning. Take a beautiful orange, squeeze it, and make some orange juice. And after we've done that, it'll look almost exactly the same. Our hands will stay clasped, but we can pull them away from one another. From here, we can stay, or we can bend our knees and take this into a forward fold. Letting belly rest on our thighs. We're giving ourselves a deep knee bend, so we are feeling the body with the body. Punching our hands down towards our tailbone. And let's go ahead and release. We can take our hands to the floor. Let's let our head hang. If you were standing, let's all join in forward fold. And we can give ourselves a little silent encouragement, nodding our heads yes. And a gentle little shake out, shaking our heads no. From here, let's go ahead and step back to downward facing dog. And we'll make our way through a variation of side plank. So from down dog, or even from child's, we're gonna take it so we have just our right knee underneath our right hip. And we're gonna turn to face the side wall. So we have right hand, knee, and foot on the mat. Let's use our left hand to help us out. So we'll take our left hand to the left side of the abs, making sure they're working and doing their job. We'll take our left hand to our heart, making sure it is in fact turned to the side wall. We can take our fingertips to our left shoulder, rolling it down and back. And if we like, since we're here anyways, we can extend and stack hand over hand. Maybe we're lifting the left leg and stamping our foot on the wall, flexing the ankle. Let's take this to the other side. We can take our hands down into figure four, or into all fours, or downward facing dog. Dropping the left knee under the left hip. So we have left hand, knee, and foot in line. This may be a good stretch for the outside of the right ankle. We can take our right hand to the left side of our abs, making sure our core is working. Taking hand to heart, turning the heart to the side wall. Fingertips to shoulder, relaxing shoulders back and down. And since we're here, maybe we'd like to extend our arm, but we don't have to. One final option, we can sort of karate kick our right leg out, engaging our outer hip and thigh, flexing our right foot, finding a way to be in the pose, or even out of the pose, that we can be content with. We're releasing back through to center. Let's go ahead and drop our knees. And we're releasing maybe back to child's, maybe back to downward dog. But to give us a little tip, if we're choosing to move through that half series yogi push-up, let's see if turning our fingers out slightly is a help for us. So we can give a little turn out and see if that helps us pull elbows to ribs a bit more easily. Rather than our fingers pointed forwards, a teeny turn out, and you'll know it's for you if you all of a sudden feel like, oh, okay, now I can do it. Well, let's come up into an all fours position. Let's do a little more core work. We're going to hold our spinal balance this time. So starfish hands or fists for wrist. Let's press down, right hand, left knee. Drawing belly to spine. And this should allow us to unweight our opposite limbs. We can be tapped or lifted. Noticing the strength in the front and back line of the body. Maybe we're just doing the leg. Maybe we're just doing the arm. Let's give it one more round of breath. And we can release on an exhale. Let's set up on the other side. Pressing left hand and right knee down. Feeling our core kick in to support us, but we're still breathing fluidly. We can kick back and reach forward. We can tap. We can lift. We can do just the leg. We can do just the arm. Can we find a way to be present in the pose? I am okay with the version I've chosen. We'll give it one more round of breath. And we'll release back. Maybe feels good to give ourselves a child's pose. Maybe feels good to give ourselves one more half series yogi push-up flow, listening to our bodies. So we always have those opportunities, modifications for more work or more rest, and we take what we need on any given day so we can make it of the most benefit to be here. We'll move through our warrior series. So when we're ready, tucking toes, lifting up into downward facing dog. To create some extra space, let's lift the right leg and we'll pull our bodies up so that we have enough room to move our legs underneath ourselves. Might take 2 steps. Planting our right foot between our hands. If we take a look at our back foot, let's go ahead and put our heel where our toes are. We'll put it down flat on an angle. We can climb up our front thigh, and we're in warrior 1. Knee over ankle. Shoulders over hips, neck in line with the spine. Can we feel confident and peaceful like a warrior? We'll take our hands to sleepwalk or Frankenstein, noticing that they are pointed straight forward, and then we're going to point them straight to the side wall. We'll heel toe our foot back to give more room to drop into the pose if we like. And we can take hand over foot for warrior 2. Let's work in two directions. If we're turning our heads to look right, we're working the back side of the left shoulder to resist that movement. Left shoulder pulls back if we turn our nose to the right hand. We'll go ahead and shift our hips back. So maybe we take hands to hips and feel that shifted movement. Our tailbone's pointed down, and then we add a little sassiness to it, and our tailbone points this way. We've created a hole that we can move our core into for triangle pose. We can take our hands to a supportive position on thigh or shin, maybe hip. Maybe we like to take our left hand to our left shoulder and roll it out again. Or as a natural extension, we can reach it out. Do we remember how that side plank felt? Let's get that kind of side plank feeling here in our core. Maybe that means coming higher. We'll put a bend in that knee, turning this into side angle. Maybe it's our extended angle for today. A long diagonal line from fingertips to our back foot, pressing arm into thigh and thigh into arm. Or maybe a more gentle pulled back version, supporting ourselves with our thigh and our left hand to our left shoulder. We'll give ourselves a little change. Let's take our hands down and we're going to walk hands to the long edge of the mat for a wide-legged forward fold. This will not be our only wide-legged forward fold of the day. So maybe this time through, just for today, we can choose a really deep knee bend. Like maybe it feels like an unnecessarily deep knee bend, but bending our joints can allow our muscles to release better. Okay, we're very smart. We're very good at our poses now. Let's walk our hands to the new top edge of our mat. We're going to walk our hands to the left foot. We're pivoting into lunge. We're looking at our back foot. Let's place our heel down where our toes were. We can climb up our front thigh into warrior one. Ta-da! Maybe we want to check our alignment again. Sleepwalking the arms forward. Sometimes we kind of turn open to warrior 1.5. So this is a nice way to frame the front knee and foot. We can make sure we can see our toes beyond our knee. If our toes are blocked by our knee, we can pull back. If we can see ourselves on the Zoom screen, we can even look and say, oh yeah, okay, that's how I look. Sometimes there's some benefit to being able to see ourselves. And there is a belief that truly being a warrior in this life means the bravery to be yourself. And that is an act of rebellion when society is telling us who to be. Well, let's take our hands to our shoulders. We'll open out to warrior 2. We can toe heel the back foot back to give us more space to drop into. Maybe we want to do a little toe heel lift in the front foot too. That might feel comfortable, or a little adjustment to settle into warrior 2. Finding a comfortable position for our arms. We can bring things closer to our core to be more comfortable for maybe some shoulder crankiness or some spine crankiness, whatever that may be. If we're turning to look to the left, we're pulling the right shoulder back. We'll take hands to hips. We are straightening the front knee. And to give us space to move into, we have to shift our pelvis out of the way. If we're really tucked under, like a cat pose, it's a lot tougher to do. So let's go ahead and feel the pelvis. It is in neutral. We have even length through belly and back. And then we are offsetting it to the right side. And look at that. I have this nice space to move into here. With our hand coming to thigh or shin. Careful not to lock the knee or place any undue pressure on it. Maybe we want to take our free hand. Same as we did in side plank. Is my core working? Is my heart turned to the side wall? Are my shoulders relaxed down and back? Do I feel like reaching up today, or would it be an act of rebellion to do the pose in my own way instead? Honoring our bodies, making any necessary modifications, knowing that rest is always an option. Speaking of which, we're almost there. We're going to take our knee over our ankle. Maybe a change is as good as a rest. For side angle, our body's on a diagonal like a slide. We can reach fingertips over shoulders. We could take our arm inside our thigh for extended angle and bicep over ear. This is a big reach. Knowing why we choose to come to the floor, why we choose to use the support of our thigh. There's no one magic way to experience this moment. Well, let's give ourselves a break. Wide-legged forward fold. We're dropping our hands, walking them to the long edge of the mat. We can do that deep knee bend that we did already. Shoulders and wrists in line. Long spine. If we get dizzy, the bent knee and maybe even coming up onto fingertips or a block if we have one is a great way to keep our heads above our hearts. And if we feel like we're ready to give into gravity, we can come further in this pose. By all means we can. Straightening our legs and releasing chests towards the mat. Let's go ahead and walk our hands to the top of the mat. We're stepping back, downward dog or child. Let's take one more opportunity to fire up that upper body. We can choose to rest or take a half series here. Plank or kneeling plank, crocodile or kneeling crocodile, upward dog or cobra. We'll make our way into forward fold, walking towards the top of the mat, bringing hands and feet together. Again, we can do a deep knee bend and rest belly on thighs, feeling our breath, move our bodies, giving our heads a gentle shake out, nodding our heads yes, and finishing on a positive note. We'll go ahead and reverse our swan dive. Here we are. Let's start in mountain pose. We can turn palms forward. Maybe we give our knees a little bounce or our elbows a little bounce. We are ready to cool down with tree pose. We may like to take actually hands to hips to be aware of our pelvis as we do this. Let's try to keep it fairly stable. We'll shift our weight to one foot. We can choose our favorite foot if we like, and we're tapping out the opposite foot. We'll keep our pelvis fairly level as we bring our foot into a kickstand, a shin, or if we can gently draw it up, a thigh. So the reason why our hands are on our hip is so that we keep things pretty neutral. We're pressing leg into foot, foot into leg, drawing up through the inner arches of our feet. We can maybe inhale and reach to help with our extension. Finding our own way to express our branches. Often if we're tight in the chest, it's easier to open out more towards cactus. And we can use a counting breath here as well to focus. With an exhale, let's resist gravity and slowly unwind ourselves, coming out with control. And we are ready for our second favorite side. Here we go. We can shift our weight, tap our toes. We can draw in, kickstand, lower leg, or upper leg. Finding that place of a comfortable challenge. I actually feel that I get the most muscular challenge at the calf and not the thigh because it's less locked in. I have to work to not let it slip. You may feel that this is your most beneficial version or something else is. It may help to draw up our hearts. It may be a nice option to add arms, but maybe, just like a tree in real life, when we have branches, it makes us more aware of when the wind blows. If it is a windy day, perhaps picking a spot on the floor to focus our eyes on. Do we notice that our heart rate is slowing down or our breathing is slowing down? If we fall out, we can reset, always training success. And with control in our own time, resisting gravity, rewinding out. We can give it a shake. We'll make our way to the mat. From the top of our mats, we can inhale up and swan back down, stepping back to child's. From child's, we'll go ahead and lower down onto our bellies for bow pose. I'll show us an option for half bow today. So we can prop ourselves up on our right arm and bend our left leg. Kind of funny, but I noticed that sometimes our pants get stuck on the mat, so maybe we give our leg a little lift. And sometimes our shirts and our armpits get a little stuck. So let's do a big reach around and back. This may clear a little more space. If we can reach our ankles, we are kicking foot into hand and resisting that movement, pulling hand into foot. Now, this is not everyone's favorite pose. We can take a side lying bow. All the same alignment principles apply. We still have our knees about a fist width apart. We're still kicking hand into foot, foot into hand. It's a nice one if you've just eaten a large meal, or for whatever reason, pregnancy or anything else, lying on the stomach is not preferred. I will let you know, it's my least favorite yoga pose. You don't have to like every pose. In fact, we don't have to do every pose. But for now, let's let this pose go. And it might feel nice to shake the hips off and reset, to rest the forehead down and turn the head side to side, or to windshield wipe the legs. And we're ready for our second side. Let's prop ourselves up on our forearm, bend our right leg. If our pants get stuck on the mat, we can do a little lift. If our armpit gets stuck on our shirt, we can do a big reach around and back. So we're really digging that front elbow into the mat for support. We can press the top of the back foot down. We're kicking hand into foot and foot into hand. Knowing that we can always have our pant leg instead of actually grabbing our ankle. Or if we're nowhere near, faking it still gives us the same range of motion, right? We're still getting that back body strong, front body long position. Let's release. Ooh. Again, we may like to take our forehead to the back of the hands, turn the head side to side, shake the hips off, or windshield wipe the legs. And as we make our way into child's, let's listen to our backs. Option to come into a neutral position, maybe a cat position, or it may feel quite nice to come sort of halfway between cat and child's, pulling back and getting some stretch in the back. And then when we feel we have reset, we'll go ahead and sit to one hip and swing our legs around. Let's come into staff pose. And from staff, we'll find a comfortable seated position. You may know it as easy seated pose, but it's a deceiving name. This isn't always the most easy seated pose, right? We'll be here for a couple poses, so it may actually be of benefit if you want some extra height under your bum to roll your mat up. And even just that little lift can make this position more possible. So take a moment if you would like, and then we'll sit tall with a long spine. And we'll come into a twist here. Let's start with hands to heart. And we'll keep our thumbs touching our sternum. So we are twisting from our lower belly to start, then our ribs, chest, eventually shoulders. We can release our hands to help us out, giving our back hand as a second spine. And if we want, we can turn and check our blind spot. Inhaling, imagining that we're growing taller. Pressing our seat down into the earth. And exhaling, drawing our abdominals in. Maybe we're able to claim some more space in this rotation. And on our next exhale, we can release. For the sake of curiosity, it may be interesting to notice if one side of the back feels different than the other. We'll see if we can make it match. Hands to heart, tall spine, turning from the low belly to start, then the ribs, and then the chest. We can release our hands for support. Maybe we turn and check our blind spot. We are rooting our seats down, growing our crowns high. Inhaling to lengthen, exhaling, drawing power through core center to twist. Do we feel the strength in the back of the right shoulder? On an exhale, we can make our way back through center. And again, for the sake of curiosity, do we feel more balanced now? Did we make it match? from a seated position. We can still keep our roll-up mat here if we like. Let's come into a lateral flexion. So we can take our fingertips down on one side, and our opposite glute is going to press down. So if you're taking your right hand down, press your left glute down as we reach left arm up and over. We're working in two directions. Tall spine, reaching up, rooting down. Fingertips reaching up, shoulder pulling down, and our hip pulling down. Why do I say this? Because sometimes when the arm comes up, the whole body wants to come with it. So we resist that movement. Working in two directions, up and down. Maybe we like to take a hand to our ribs to feel our breath expand. We could be taking care of our shoulders today by bending our elbow, and we can still get the same spinal movement, even if we bring our hand down. Seeing if we can sink deeper into the movement on our next exhale. Getting into the pose, allowing gravity to do its job. Bless you. And we're ready to switch sides. Maybe one side feels different than the other. Can we make it match? We're rooting down, tall spine. Maybe we picture like one of those bendy straws or a slinky. We can articulate up and over. Fingers reaching tall. Shoulder drawing down, and our hip resisting this upward and outward movement, pressing downward. Maybe we take hand to rib, noticing that flow of breath. And let's keep our head in a comfortable position. This may mean looking down or up or straight forward. And with our next exhale, we are ready to release. Let's make our way to final relaxation. We're not quite done. Our last pose before we lie down. So I like to warn you in case you want to just keep in mind a blanket or socks or something like that. We'll finish with figure 4. If by chance it is your personal preference to do a seated figure 4 instead, by all means, we can. Or if it is your personal favorite to lie down, we can do that instead. So we can take hands behind our thigh, release ourselves back, plant our feet. And just like our seated pigeon, we take ankle over thigh, making sort of the number 4 with our legs. We can stay here completely passive, or we can hold behind our left thigh, drawing in. Maybe a gentle rock allows us to settle in. And if we're seated, yes, we can do that same kind of gentle rock. Even if we are seated or supine, hugging our legs, so we're taking the crease of our elbow to the blade edge of our foot. We can do a little rock here, or stir the pot. So I hope we've all found a version that we can kind of melt into. Let's give it another round of breath here. one time. We're ready to switch sides. Opposite ankle over thigh. If we're supine, maybe we're drawing in behind the right thigh. Or we can be taking the crease of our elbow to the outer edge of the left foot, hugging our leg, releasing opposite leg. Maybe we cradle and rock the baby. And if we're seated, the same idea. We could be more passive and support it, or more active and engaged. But most often what we're looking for in this angle of a pose is a beneficial sensation and release through the outer hip and thigh area. We've done a lot of standing poses, a lot of lower body strength, so that helps to release it. Now, we're in a position of hip flexion. To balance that, might be nice to come into a position of hip extension. So if you're in seated cradle the baby, again, we can hold behind one thigh and ease ourselves down onto our backs. If we're in regular cradle the baby, we can draw knees to chest. And then let's all take knees to chest, and we'll let our legs go. Wherever they land is probably fine. It might feel nice to tuck our shoulders underneath our backs. We can press down one foot at a time, and then both together, starfishing our feet. If we could think about that. We could starfish our hands, pressing hands and the backs of our shoulders down. We're engaging back body strength and front body length as we reach up into a bridge pose. And maybe just for today, we're holding the edges of our mat and pulling away. So pulling our hands away from one another. And if we like, we could also interlace our hands underneath our backs. Resisting gravity will release down. Let's give ourselves a moment of whatever we need here. Windshield wipe, maybe a little twist, a long stretch, a drink or an extra layer of clothing. And we'll make our way into our final relaxation. For our final relaxation, it's pretty typical to finish with arms and legs or hands and feet wider than the mat, allowing palms to turn up and allowing the instep of the foot to turn up or our toes to turn out. We can walk our shoulder blades underneath our backs. And if we're not feeling typical or conventional, we could also plant our feet. Maybe we're letting our knees knock towards one another. Maybe we're feeling really vulnerable and open here on the floor. We can tent our knees. We can even give ourselves a bit of a hug or place hands on belly or ribs to be more in tune with our breath. I will sit up. I will not be doing anything. I'm just going to sit up. So you can stay lying down. But to lead us through our final relaxation, I'll be seated. Let's start with our 3-part breath again. This time, releasing our abdominal muscles. Inhaling, belly, ribs, and chest. Exhaling, letting everything go. On an inhale, noticing all parts of our body that are touching the mat. Maybe backs of the heels, back of the head, back of the shoulders, back of the pelvis. And on our next exhale, let's allow these spots to become heavier and sink more deeply into the mat. Inhaling. Maybe imagining the entire body is hollow and receives the air. Exhaling. Feeling heavy and held, sinking down. With each breath in, we feel our body lift slightly. And with each breath out, we allow ourselves to rest down into the surface beneath us. Let's finish supine for today. We'll take a couple minutes to journal or reflect and reanimate. But I do want to take the time to thank you so much for joining me here this morning. The light in me honors and recognizes the light in you, so we are one.